The massive ship appeared without warning. One moment, Earth's deep space sensors showed nothing but the usual stellar debris and radiation. The next, a vessel larger than Manhattan hung in high orbit, its crystalline surface refracting sunlight like a diamond suspended in the void. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in NASA's mission control, her dark eyes fixed on the main display screen. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, she had spent her career preparing for this moment. But now that first contact was actually happening, her mouth felt dry and her hands trembled slightly. Multiple smaller craft deploying from the main vessel, announced Flight Director Marcus Rodriguez, his voice steady despite the tension. They're maintaining high orbit but appear to be positioning themselves in a defensive formation. The room fell silent as a transmission cut through all frequencies simultaneously. The alien message was clear, delivered in perfect English. People of Earth, we come in peace as representatives of the Galactic Concordat. We wish to welcome humanity into our fellowship of spacefaring species. Sarah's analytical mind was already racing. How did they know English? Why choose now to reveal themselves? Something felt off, but she couldn't quite place what. The next few weeks passed in a blur of diplomatic exchanges and carefully orchestrated meetings. The aliens, who called themselves the Arxer, seemed remarkably accommodating. They offered technological exchanges, medical advancements, and promises of protection from other, allegedly more hostile species. But Dr. James Cooper, head of Earth's new xenobiology division, noticed something disturbing in their medical scans. "Look at this," he told Sarah one night in his secure lab, pointing to cellular imagery. "Every time we're in proximity to the Arxer, our cellular regeneration rates spike dramatically. It's like our bodies are constantly healing from some kind of damage we can't detect." Sarah frowned. "That matches the linguistic anomalies I've been tracking. Their language contains subtle contradictions, phrases that shouldn't exist in a truly advanced civilization. It's as if they're hiding something fundamental about themselves." The truth began to emerge when a junior analyst noticed strange energy readings from the Arxer ship. They weren't just scanning Earth. They were conducting massive biological surveys, cataloging every living thing on the planet. But their particular focus was on humans. "They're studying our ability to adapt," James realized with growing horror. "Humans can survive in almost any environment on Earth. We can heal from incredible injuries, resist a vast array of toxins, and our immune systems are remarkably robust. To a species that's evolved in a more stable environment. We're not potential allies," Sarah finished. "We're potential weapons." The Arxer's true nature was revealed during what was supposed to be a routine diplomatic exchange. Sarah watched in horror as one of their delegates physically transformed, its crystalline exterior melting away to reveal something ancient and terrible. They weren't a single species at all. They were a collective of parasitic entities that survived by harvesting the biological advantages of other species. "Your adaptability is unprecedented," the creature hissed, its true voice sending chills down Sarah's spine. "Humanity will serve the Concordat well. Your children will be our next evolution." But they had underestimated something fundamental about humans. While they saw our adaptability as a resource to be harvested, they failed to understand the other traits that came with it: our ingenuity, our determination, and most importantly, our absolute refusal to be subjugated. As alarms blared throughout Earth's major cities and the Arxer ships began their invasion in earnest, Sarah shared a knowing look with James. Humanity had spent its entire existence adapting, surviving, and overcoming. If the Arxer thought humans would be easy prey, they were about to learn a harsh lesson about what really makes our species dangerous. The first shots of humanity's war for survival were about to be fired, and Earth's greatest strength wasn't our technology or our weapons. It was our unwavering will to remain free, no matter the cost. The underground bunker beneath Denver buzzed with activity as military and scientific personnel rushed to implement Earth's emergency protocols. Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't slept in 36 hours, but adrenaline kept her focused as she analyzed the latest intercepted Arxer communications. They're not just after our adaptability, she announced to the assembled emergency council. They're terrified of it. General Maya Santos, newly appointed head of Earth's Unified Defense Force, leaned forward. Explain. Sarah pulled up a holographic display showing complex biological data. The Arxer are parasites, yes, but they're also perfect, too perfect. They've engineered themselves to be the apex predators of the galaxy, absorbing traits from thousands of species. But their perfection is their weakness. They can't evolve anymore. Dr. James Cooper picked up the thread. Humans, on the other hand, are wonderfully imperfect. We're constantly changing, adapting, finding new ways to survive. Our DNA has more potential for mutation and adaptation than any species they've encountered. We're not just powerful, we're unpredictable. The implications hit the room like a physical force. The Arxer hadn't come to Earth looking for weapons. They'd come hunting for the one thing their perfect society couldn't create: chaos. Satellite feeds show the Arxer ships deploying what looked like massive collection vessels, designed to harvest human subjects en masse. But their careful plans were about to collide with humanity's greatest defensive advantage: our ability to think outside any box. Look at this, Sarah pointed to new data streaming in. Their ships are crystalline because their entire society is based on perfect symmetry and order. They literally can't comprehend asymmetrical warfare. General Santos smiled grimly. Then let's show them how humans fight when our backs are against the wall. The first test of humanity's resistance came when an Arxer harvester descended on Mumbai. They expected to find panicked civilians fleeing in predictable patterns. Instead, they found the city's 20 million inhabitants had transformed their home into a labyrinth of improvised traps and ambush points. When the Arxer deployed their supposedly invincible collection drones, they discovered humans had already figured out how to disrupt their crystalline structures using nothing more sophisticated than precisely tuned sound waves. The drones shattered like glass, their perfect forms unable to handle the chaotic vibrations. In Rio de Janeiro, street artists turned their graffiti into weapons, using specially developed pigments that confused Arxer sensors. In Lagos, traditional drummers discovered their rhythms could interfere with alien communication frequencies. Every human culture, every unique way of thinking, became a new way to fight back. But the Arxer's response was brutal. Unable to comprehend how their perfect plans could fail, they began systematic orbital bombardments of major population centers. Yet even this played into humanity's hands. They don't understand what they've done, Sarah explained to James as they watched survivors emerge from the rubble of Shanghai. Humans don't break under pressure. We become stronger. The proof was all around them. In bombed-out cities, communities came together in ways the perfectly ordered Arxer society couldn't comprehend. Innovation exploded as necessity bred invention. Scientists worked alongside artists, soldiers learned from civilians, and traditional knowledge combined with cutting-edge technology in ways that would have been impossible during peacetime. The Arxer had thought they were harvesting a resource. Instead, they had awakened something they couldn't control. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. We were evolving in real time, becoming something new. Deep in their crystalline ships, the Arxer began to realize their terrible mistake. They had sought to harvest humanity's potential for change, but in doing so, they had catalyzed that very change. The question was no longer whether humanity would survive, but what we would become in the process. As Earth's first counter-offensive took shape, the Arxer would learn another human truth. The most dangerous predator isn't the one that's perfectly evolved. It's the one that never stops evolving. The Brazilian rainforest burned, but not from Arxer weapons. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from a camouflaged bunker as massive plumes of smoke rose into the atmosphere. The fires were part of humanity's plan, one that the perfectly ordered minds of the Arxer would never anticipate. Smoke patterns are optimal, reported Dr. James Cooper, checking atmospheric readings. The particulate matter is exactly what we need. General Maya Santos nodded grimly. Launch Operation Chaos. Around the globe, Humanity had prepared similar environmental modifications. The Arxer's crystalline ships required perfect conditions for their energy-focusing properties to work. By altering Earth's atmosphere in precise ways, humans had turned their entire planet into a weapon. But the real surprise wasn't the strategy. It was how it came about. The solution hadn't come from military strategists or advanced computers. It came from an indigenous elder in Peru who remembered ancient stories about how his ancestors used controlled burns to modify their environment. "That's what the Arxer don't understand," Sarah said, watching the smoke create interference patterns in the alien ship's energy beams. "Human knowledge isn't just about technology. It's about thousands of years of accumulated experience passed down through generations." The Arxer response was predictable. They attempted to compensate by increasing power to their weapons. But this, too, played into humanity's hands. The increased energy only made their ships more vulnerable to the atmospheric distortions. In orbit, the first Arxer vessel shattered spectacularly as its crystalline structure failed under the strain. The pieces rained down through the smoke-filled atmosphere, each fragment telling the same story. Perfection was no match for adaptability. But humanity wasn't just fighting defensively. In laboratories and workshops around the world, people were reverse engineering captured Arxer technology. What the aliens had achieved through eons of careful refinement, humans were replicating and modifying in weeks. "Look at this," James said, showing Sarah a laboratory where teenagers were experimenting with crystalline fragments. "They're treating alien technology like a puzzle game. No preconceptions, no rigid thinking, just pure innovation." The young researchers had discovered something extraordinary. The Arxer's crystalline technology could be reprogrammed through specific vibration patterns. It was similar to how human children learn to whistle with blades of grass or make music with water glasses. This discovery led to humanity's first major offensive capability. By modifying standard sound equipment with crystalline components, Earth's forces could now disrupt Arxer ships from a distance. The perfect symmetry that made their vessels so powerful became their greatest weakness. The Arxer's response revealed their growing desperation. They attempted to adapt their tactics, but centuries of rigid thinking made true innovation impossible. Each change they made was predictable, following patterns that human analysts could anticipate hours in advance. "They're trying to think like us," Sarah observed, watching tactical displays show yet another failed Arxer assault. "But they don't understand that human thinking isn't about following a better pattern. It's about breaking patterns entirely." This truth was demonstrated dramatically when a group of classical musicians discovered that certain Bach compositions, when played through crystalline amplifiers, could create resonance patterns that completely immobilized Arxer ships. The aliens had sought to harvest human adaptability, but found themselves unable to cope with human creativity. As Earth's counter-offensive gained momentum, the Arxer faced a terrible realization. They had evolved themselves into a corner. Their perfect society, their flawless technology, their precise tactical doctrine. All of it was based on the assumption that the universe could be understood and controlled through proper patterns. But humans proved that real strength came from embracing chaos, from finding beauty in imperfection, from turning disadvantages into advantages. Every human culture, every individual way of thinking, became a new weapon in Earth's arsenal. Deep in their command ships, the Arxer leadership faced an unprecedented crisis. Their perfect society had never encountered a species that didn't just resist assimilation, but turned the very attempt against them. As they prepared their next move, they failed to realize that humanity was already several steps ahead, preparing surprises that would shatter their crystalline empire forever. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in what had once been an ordinary high school gymnasium in Kenya. Now it was humanity's most advanced research facility, where captured Arxer technology merged with human intuition in ways that defied conventional science. "They thought their technology was perfect," she said, watching a group of researchers work with crystalline fragments. "They never imagined we'd do this with it." The breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. A young student, barely 16, had noticed that the alien crystals responded to human emotions. What the Arxer had designed as perfect, emotionless conduits of energy could be influenced by something they'd never considered: human consciousness. Dr. James Cooper approached, holding a modified crystal matrix. The latest tests confirm it. Their technology isn't just compatible with human thought patterns, it amplifies them. The Arxer built better than they knew. General Maya Santos watched as soldiers trained with the new hybrid weapons. Human emotional intensity, channeled through modified Arxer crystals, created effects that defied the aliens' understanding of physics. Fear became shields, anger became weapons, and hope became something entirely new. They wanted our adaptability, Maya said, but they got our humanity instead. In orbit, the Arxer fleet faced an enemy they couldn't comprehend. Their perfect formations were disrupted by weapons that responded to human creativity. Their crystalline shields, designed to resist any known form of energy, crumbled before attacks fueled by human determination. The turning point came during what became known as the Battle of Luna. The Arxer launched a massive assault on Earth's moon bases, expecting to find vulnerable human outposts. Instead, they found their own technology turned against them in ways they'd never imagined possible. Lunar defensive systems, rebuilt with hybrid human Arxer technology, didn't just fight back. They evolved during the battle. Every attack the Arxer launched taught the defenders something new, and the humans' emotional responses created new capabilities in real time. "That's impossible," an Arxer commander transmitted as their ships began to fail. "Technology doesn't work that way. It can't change its fundamental nature." "Maybe yours can't," Sarah replied over the command channel. "But ours was never perfect to begin with. That's its strength." The battle became a rout. Arxer ships, their perfect crystalline forms unable to adapt to the chaos of human warfare, began to shatter. Some crews, facing weapons powered by human emotions they couldn't understand, simply fled. But the true victory wasn't military, it was psychological. The Arxer had believed their perfect society represented the pinnacle of evolution. Now they faced a species that treated their flawless technology as raw material for innovation. In research centers around Earth, humans continued to unlock new possibilities in the captured technology. Children played games with crystalline fragments, inadvertently discovering properties the Arxer had never imagined. Artists incorporated the materials into their work, creating pieces that seemed to defy physics. "Look at this," James said, showing Sarah a report. "Every human culture is finding different ways to use their technology. The Arxer spent millennia perfecting one approach. We've created thousands in months." The Arxer leadership, watching their perfect society's foundations crumble, faced a terrible choice. Their entire civilization was built on the principle of harvesting and perfecting traits from other species. But humanity hadn't just resisted. We had taken their own technology and made it imperfect, chaotic, and infinitely more powerful. As Earth's forces prepared for their final offensive, the Arxer confronted an uncomfortable truth. In seeking to harvest humanity's potential for change, they had instead unleashed that change upon themselves. Their perfect empire was about to be transformed in ways they could never have predicted. Deep in their command ships, the Arxer leaders received reports they couldn't process. Humans weren't just winning. They were rewriting the rules of what was possible. The species they had sought to harvest had become something unprecedented in the galaxy. A force for controlled chaos, for perfect imperfection, for endless possibility. The massive Arxer command ship hung in space like a broken crystal, its once perfect surfaces now clouded and fractured. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Prometheus, watching as the last remnants of the alien fleet surrendered. They're requesting terms, General Maya Santos announced, her voice carrying a note of triumph tempered with wisdom. But this isn't just about victory anymore. It's about what comes next. The final battle hadn't been fought with weapons at all. Instead, humanity had demonstrated something the Arxer had never considered possible: deliberate imperfection as a path to greater strength. Dr. James Cooper approached with the latest readings from the hybrid technology labs. Every human interaction with their crystals creates new possibilities. We're not just using their technology, we're teaching it how to evolve. The Arxer leadership, facing total defeat, had made a discovery that shook their perfect society to its core. Human DNA, which they had sought to harvest, wasn't just adaptable, it carried within it the entire history of Earth's evolution. Every survival trait, every adaptation, every victory over adversity was encoded in our genes. They thought we were weapons, Sarah said, studying the surrender terms. They never understood we were teachers. The transformation began slowly at first. Young Arxer, exposed to human creativity and emotion through the hybrid technology, started to change. Their crystalline forms, once rigidly perfect, began to show variations. Some developed the ability to express emotions, while others discovered they could innovate in ways their society had thought impossible. "They're afraid," Maya observed, watching the alien ships through the view screen. "Not of our weapons anymore, but of what we represent. Change." The surrender terms humanity offered weren't what anyone expected. Instead of demanding the Arxers' destruction or subjugation, Earth proposed a partnership. Humanity would share its greatest strength, the ability to embrace imperfection, to learn from failure, to find strength in diversity. In return, the Arxer would help humanity reach the stars, not as perfect beings, but as guides who had learned the cost of pursuing perfection at the expense of growth. "Look at this," James said, displaying images from across Earth. Humans and Arxer working together, combining crystalline technology with human intuition. The results were extraordinary. Medical breakthroughs that merged perfect crystalline precision with human adaptability. Spacecraft that could think and grow. Communication systems that transmitted not just information, but understanding. The galaxy watched in amazement as something unprecedented emerged. The species that had evolved themselves into perfect predators was learning to embrace chaos, while the chaotic species was teaching them how to find strength in imperfection. "We're not just changing them," Sarah realized, watching a group of human children playing with young Arxer. "They're changing us too, not by force or design, but through choice and understanding." The transformation spread throughout the galaxy. Other species, long intimidated by the Arxer's perfect society, discovered new possibilities in human adaptability. Earth became a center of innovation, where the rigid patterns of galactic civilization met human creativity and emerged transformed. Decades later, Sarah stood in the Great Hall of the new Galactic Council. The chamber, once a monument to perfect order, now reflected the merger of countless cultures and approaches. Crystalline structures flowed into organic forms, technology merged with art, and representatives from across the galaxy met not to impose order, but to embrace possibility. "We thought we were fighting for survival," she told the assembled delegates, human and alien alike. "Instead, we were fighting for evolution itself, not just of our bodies or our technology, but of our understanding." The Arxer, their society transformed by contact with humanity, had discovered something their perfect evolution had never prepared them for: the power of choosing to change. Their crystalline forms now shimmered with emotional depths, their perfect symmetry enhanced rather than limited by controlled chaos. As Earth's ships ventured into the galaxy, they carried with them humanity's greatest lesson. True strength lies not in achieving perfection, but in the endless journey of growth and change. The species that had once been feared as the galaxy's most dangerous predators had become something far more powerful, teachers of evolution itself.